Is it recording all right? Yeah, should we just check it's recording? Always forget to do it. All right, so
Yeah.
that's good. All right then. So what we're here to do today is something to do with what we call food safety culture. We talked about food safety culture yesterday, didn't we? We'll talk a bit about it today. So what the general exercise is that you're going to, in two groups, cook a meal here. It's going to be a cheeseburger, a green salad, and a deli meat sandwich. So it's fairly easy, isn't it? So you've been two groups of 5 to do it, and as I said, the people like to come down and just try what you've made, just because everyone likes free food, don't they? So you can, I don't know how you're going to make it better or worse or anything like that, but you'll do it the best you can. But that's by the side. The big thing is about teaching food safety practices and how do you instill those in workers, because when you graduate and you become managers, that's essentially what you'll have to do. So can anybody think about, when we talk about food safety handling, what's these sort of big things that you should focus on? Practices. So when we're preparing food, what would you say are the important food safety handling practices to stop people getting sick? Oh yes, anyone. Yeah.
Having like clean utensils and cutting boards and all that stuff.
Yeah, sanitation is key, isn't it? Because sanitation means no cross-contamination. And when we go to the supermarket, for example, we have these reusable plastic crates to put our shopping in rather than plastic bags. People suggesting, probably rightly so, that they're a cross-contamination source. And when we're in the kitchen ourselves at home, I'm pretty sure we've all cut some meat and then put something else on it, and basically pathogens can transfer. So sanitation is definitely one. What's the biggest one, do you think? Yeah. Go ahead. If you want.
Personal hygiene, like washing your hands.
Personal hygiene, because when we look at foodborne illness outbreaks in food service establishments, one of the big causes is lack of personal hygiene. Food service workers tend to go to work even when they're ill, for reasons is that if you don't work, you don't get paid. So they'll just turn up with norovirus or something like that. You only need 20 virons to actually cause illness. It's very easy to transfer pathogens that way. But what's another one? What's one of the biggest sort of cause of foodborne illness in the home and in food service? Oh yes. At the back. Yeah.
Sorry, properly cooking meat all the way?
Yeah, cooking is another sort of, or undercooking as I say, isn't it? So undercooking is one of the big issues, and if you've got a barbecue, you're likely to do that because you burn the outside, keep the inside raw, isn't it? And with burgers especially, it's particularly significant because obviously the contamination is throughout the burger, not as with steaks on the surface, unless you do tenderization. So you're all students, you all go out at night, don't you? So do you ever go out at night and then have a pizza, then leave the pizza, and come back the next day to eat it? So what's the danger in that, do you feel? Oh, anybody?
I think it's not refrigerated.
Yeah, temperature abuse is the other sort of thing as well. So, these are things that are obvious to us, aren't they? Is that we know we do wrong when we leave our sort of food on the stove top, and we know we do wrong when we don't wash our hands and things like that, but we still do it. And when you go into industry, it gets even worse because, as I was mentioning yesterday, we've got more regulations than anything else, and Jessica and Tima, who you just met, they're public health inspectors, and they go out into the industry and they see some horrific things. People know that it's wrong, but they'll still do it. And this is where we come into the food safety culture realm. So food safety culture is a sort of branch of food microbiology, well, loosely. It's more food safety. And that's studying the behaviour of people. Why do people do what they do? And when we look at the maple leaf outbreak in 2008, basically the maple leaf outbreak in 2008, I don't know if anyone remembers that. Maybe not, but essentially Maple Leaf, as you know, the biggest deli meat producer in Canada. And what they were essentially doing is they were really getting high throughput in terms of production of deli meat, and that was at the price of sanitation. So what was happening is that their sanitation regime, or or shift got shrunker, or little smaller. And so it came to the point where basically just rinsing down machines rather than dismantling them and sanitising them. And as you know, if you don't sanitise things, contamination accumulates. In this case, Listeria got into the slicer and everywhere else. The actual quality assurance managers that were doing sampling were again Listeria positives, but the people at the top, i.e. Mike McCain, just said keep going, it's no big problem, although he wouldn't say that on camera. But obviously it was wrong, and sure enough there was about 40 deaths, I think it was, associated with that Listeria outbreak, which was big at the time. And Maple Leaf got through it by just being a good PR system. But what they did then is initiate what we call increased food safety culture, as in saying we don't care about the profits, we're all to do with food safety and all this, and literally went the opposite. So they became this sort of flagship for food safety culture in terms of instilling in its workers about the need to have food safety practices. And it's not like this sort of warm, glowy stuff where you essentially say, oh, let's go team and let's be good practice. Essentially, if you got caught going into a plant without any gloves on, you would get the sack instantly. So it's not, it's not the carrot as such, but it's more the stick. Now, food safety culture might seem easy, but it's very difficult to instill, to try and get people to do what you want without you always looking at them. And that's what hopefully we'll see today in terms of behaviours, because you do things without even noticing. All right, so I'm boring you to death, so what we'll do is get to the actual business end, isn't it? So you've got two teams then. You're going to cook a cheeseburger, and I've given you a pan, I've given you ingredients. You're going to make a deli meat sandwich, so I've given you margarine, and you're going to make a green salad. Give you some lettuce and some tomatoes in the fridge. So all you have to do is cook the meal, then you can sort yourselves out who does what. We've got a big time limit because we've got to be over in 241 at 10:30, so we've got to leave here at 10. So I'm giving you 15 minutes in total. And what you do as the audience, the other group, is just write down the food safety violations. So what you deem as food safety violations, what could cause contamination, what could cause illness. Then we're going to switch the teams around. Then hopefully at the end we'll have a post-mortem. So as I mentioned, there's 15-minute time limit, so even if you're halfway through cooking your burger, I'll have to stop you because we need to get on. So is everyone clear on that? Simple, isn't it? What could go possibly wrong? As I say, I do video this one. I do show it to the class if it's really hilarious. What I should say. If you want to put in a food safety violation, say, well, no, this is wrong, I'm just going to do it. Yeah, do it, because we're not judging. You're not going to get marked on food safety violations, but so you can play it to the camera, as I say, isn't it? So there's no questions. I'll invite the first group to come up. Well, you have to do it. So well, first or second, it doesn't matter. It's like you've got no speaking part, unless you want. We're recording, all right?
Yeah.
Oh, so I'll be there. So all I'm going to do is put the 15 minutes on now, and when you finish cooking.
Is it largely unwarm?
I think.
I'll get to you that.
Yeah, what would you do? You would go upstairs or go around. Yeah, try it this side.
Not that warm, is it?
Yeah. You might have that. Oh, go for it. No, you might know everything.
Alright, we put the pan on
This
first?
salad bowl.
There's a washing one there.
Now you make it in the dressing, a salad bowl.
Something to toss the salad in.
Well, like I said, I'm not here really.
So, did you guys figure out what? Can I do the burger?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Do you want me to do the salad? I just don't want to do the burger.
You don't want to do the
But
burger?
don't forget your onions.
Okay.
I'll do the burger.
I'm gonna turn it on, okay?
Yeah.
We only have the one thing left.
Can you?
Yes, but get the burger on and you can just take it.
Okay.
Watch it and take it.
Okay, yeah, we'll watch
Get the
it.
spatula off the frying pan.
This
And
one.
don't put it on the counter.
But it doesn't get hot then.
Well, it's that one. That one looks like soap. I don't know what that is.
What detergent you want sanitizer?
Okay, there you go. Is this one just soap?
Sanitizer.
Okay, I'll make the salad on a plastic plate. Or I'll try to avoid it, because it's already on a plastic plate. I'll just use that, wash it, put it in this one.
Is there deli meat for the deli?
Oh, there's a dish soap. Okay. Yeah, I'm doing it like that.
No, I'm just wondering like, was it already done?
No, it looks really bad.
Okay.
Can I use one of these, or at least it's serving them? Okay.
Here, we'll make a sandwich over here.
Sorry, it's on video.
Okay. Just one of the burgers.
Do you need a cutting board? Because I can take the burger if you guys want.
Oh, yeah.
Put it in this plate.
I need that one.
Brilliant.
Oh, this is new.
Excuse me. Do you need this?
That's what
Yeah. Go ahead, please.
Okay.
Is it okay if I use this back, please? Then you
Yeah.
put it back?
I was gonna take back there. They will.
This one's sorry, but.
Yeah. Are we gonna touch the lettuce?
Yes.
But I- Cameras is gonna be like a class. You screwed up big.
You basically killed it.
I'm just wondering, like, how did I not die? Experience.
So you've got 10 minutes left.
Let me know when you guys are
We're probably start the
good with
burger.
the.
Yeah, just
It's
start.
just hot enough. When you guys are good with the onion, can I have some? If you
Okay.
guys are
Are you allowed
done
to?
with it?
I would imagine it goes in, yeah, it would be,
Yeah, but I'm allowed to throw it out, yeah. I'm gonna keep that.
Oh,
You don't want to put that in this
no.
and then.
yeah, don't use all the deli meat because we need some for the next group as well. If you just use one slice, it'll be good.
Oh,
It's alright, keep going. No, keep going, it's
You
alright.
need more lettuce?
No, keep going, it's fine, don't worry.
We'll make do.
So, as they're playing around here, has anyone really noticed something really bad to start
Thank you
with?
so much.
Not bad, but
Oh, wait, what?
certainly very typical of industry.
Here, what is carrot?
There's a,
Yeah, so no,
just rinse it.
right. So if Jessica and Camilla came into the kitchen and this was happening, they will actually start saying something.
No, like,
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't have cooked it.
Okay.
So what you also notice is no no real team leader here. Sorry, you keep going, I'm just like commentating. So, in any organisation, when we talk about food safety culture, we're talking about the leadership. So, if people haven't got a leader to follow the food safety practice, what you tend to find is people tend to do what they want to do. And that's one of the important aspects.
Because I can cut some onions for your salad. Okay, I know you don't like salad. I mean, onions.
No, I don't like onions.
Okay, we're not doing onions. That's good.
I guess it's not
Okay,
for me.
Do you like tomatoes?
Did you guys want?
Yeah, I think we have. Oh,
Look at that,
do you
you
cut
can
those?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding.
You should rent it for me.
Yeah.
50% off. When's their
They're
expiry date?
a little bit soft.
When is their expiry date?
Feel bad for the kid.
Actually looking at expiry dates, which is good, but we tend not to do
I just
that.
thought 50% off hot dog buns and they expired that day. There's like 24 buns in there.
If you want to watch,
Oh.
I don't care it.
Oh, okay.
So if you look at the way he's actually washing the tomatoes,
Yeah.
you're going to think if that would be unacceptable. Typically, just washing tomatoes, that's interesting. Oh no. They're taking all your ingredients up, Rick. Anyway. All right, so you're down to 6 minutes now.
How's the burger coming?
It looks like you're very much this great.
Sorry, I just did that.
That's good.
How dare you?
Sorry.
They watched everything now, so we didn't see.
Well, that's true.
I want to get utensils for me,
Yeah,
like, or something to put the salad in that doesn't have.
We don't have time to do that, they're like.
What do you want? I guess it's.
We just all want it.
Now, I don't know if you noticed that when you came in about the lettuce, everything else like that was left out. Did everyone look
It's
at
all
that?
all in here. Oh, they're huge. No, they're still tiny, but.
All right. Oh, you saw it? So, yeah, that lettuce actually spoiled because of that.
Maybe.
What was
Maybe we'll do the plate
interesting
item.
is how it's about how bad it was. Even
Oh, that's
is 2 days in my car.
Who wants to wash
And
this?
it's not bad. But when you get this group sort of mentality, it doesn't matter. People don't take ownership, say, I will need this, but because it's for someone else, it's obvious that they don't really say, well, let's just do the job. We don't need to worry about who's going to consume it. So we won't tell Tamara when she comes down. We'll see if she knows the taste.
You're not.
Can you switch the fence on? I don't know how you do it, to be honest. It's just like,
Switch for the.
oh, don't worry about it. Like I said, I don't know if they'll complain or anything like that. It should be all right.
Okay.
Yeah, you've got 4 minutes left.
4 minutes? Oh, we're doing
Yeah.
that. I can take this to directions.
So another thing to look for is a lot of the kitchens, especially commercial, even here, especially commercial kitchen layout.
Okay.
You know it's got 2 counters, hasn't it? It's got 2 counters for a reason. So just think about that.
Okay, you hold it.
They want us to show her us.
Yeah, I think you're right. Well, I must admit the commentary's gone down. I thought there'd be...
Yeah, we're gonna do it in here.
Yeah, right.
Pouring out.
Okay.
Well, this is kind of wet.
No, that's okay. I always have it. Oh, we're the same page. That's the same page.
No, not really.
Yeah, my pouring skills.
How many more minutes do we have?
3.5 minutes.
Oh, Okay, and do you want a burger?
Can be done, it can be done.
Pretty good, just cooking it for the rest.
So when you're cooking at home, what do you, how do you know things are done? You just see, look
How
at
do
it.
I know if it's ready?
Yeah.
Just
When
have straight
I
lettuce.
push the
What?
Straight
burger
lettuce.
and it bounces
Yeah.
up, that's
Okay.
a good, that's a good indication.
That's interesting.
Yeah, but since we're doing this, I'm actually poking a hole to see if.
Oh, well, you've got to be safe, isn't it? You
Oh,
can't
what
have
about
the
the
health
cheese
people going
part?
down.
I think there's a meat thermometer over there.
I put the
Oh, I wrote down temperatures of internal temperatures. I need them.
Because like as soon as you,
Look at you.
I think that's
as soon as you
enough.
put it in the.
Sure.
We just picked
I
up.
don't know if you
I
guys
just want to
want
walk on it.
to try it? Oh, go for it.
Do I touch the bar?
If it's really hot.
Now, there's actually a method for doing this. You tend not to go in at the top. What you tend to do is you've got it here, you go inside.
Watch your fingers on the pan.
And this isn't actually the best way to do it, so obviously you've got more chance of measuring the bottom of the frying pan. But, is it good? What temperature you got?
186.
That's good.
Fahrenheit.
Yes.
What's that?
Wait, 186?
I never.
Well, no, you can convert it to centigrade.
No, we're
I
good.
can't do that. It's lowering now.
I had
186 is good.
145.
186.
It's good. I used to work in a kitchen, so I know 186.
All right.
186 is high.
So 186 Fahrenheit. And what's that in centigrade, do you think? About,
It's converted, but
what do you reckon?
30 at least.
Well, 98 is 37,
Yeah, so it's
isn't
like
it?
40.
no, it's more than 46.
Well, no, just put it in centigrade, because I'm also, you can get.
Okay, salad's done.
Oh, we put it in the.
Where's the sandwich?
I put it in the sandwich.
Okay, that's cool.
There might be
No
another
cheese.
piece of cheese.
Fine.
Oh, but they only have 2 pieces of cheese.
That's okay. We don't have to have cheese.
So you got 1 minute left?
Yeah, I think we.
Well, cheeseburger, I thought cheeseburgers had cheese on.
I don't
I put it on the
cheese.
sandwich.
If you want cheese, you can do cheese.
Boy, that smells good.
Thank you. I had it for
26
dinner last
is
night.
85.5.
Oh, right, yes.
And you should not anyway.
Just behind you, hot.
We have a great cup, so I don't know. It's different.
So, I know when you were preparing the lettuce, did you notice how, was it any good, or did it look pretty bad?
We tried to pick some of like the really bad pieces off, but in general, the entire thing was.
So why did you use it?
Because
Oh, there you are, time's up. Oh no, we'll do a post-mortem later, it's fine. All right, that's good. So what you want to do is just write down the violations then, and I think they gave you some really good ones. No.
we purposely tried to give you a lot to write about. Alright.
That's what I thought. All right. So I'll have to rescue some of the deli meat because I haven't used it all. All right. Let's put no butter on the sandwich. That's not.
It's not deli and this is
All right, that's good. All right, so yeah, so if you finish writing, I'll just put your name on because you'll submit these at the end of the class, and we'll just wait there. So that's interesting, the way, even at the end, the washing there's 3 sinks for a reason, and they never actually use those sinks in the right way. Can anybody think why you have 3 sinks there?
Maybe it has something
Oh,
to do
yes.
with sand.
One's for dirty, one's for soap, one's for rinse.
Well, it's written right under you, you're right. Yeah, so basically, oh yeah.
It's washing, rinsing, sanitizing.
That's right. Yeah, so I don't think they quite got, I must admit, they did better than last year. Last year didn't even use a sink at all. So, doing good. So what we'll do, we'll leave those sandwiches now and invite Tamara to come down at the end and she'll try some. Sorry, if you poison a public health inspection, you can see that.
Make her sick.
All right, so that was good. So I'll invite group 2 now to come up and do their thing. Again, it's the same rules, 15 minutes, and regardless of what stage you're in, you'll have to take some of the tomatoes off the bacon. I don't know what the tomatoes are the bottom set of the bacon.
There's more bowls in the second drawer there.
All right, so I'll say we can start now. So what group 1 wants to do is, as I say, just have a look, see how they're doing, and just note the violation. So the sort of practices that could potentially cause contamination.
Just going to point out, I don't think we should be any of this.
No, it was really good that you all did hand washing, because hand washing is one of those things that people always forget in the heat of the moment. One of the biggest violations as well. But they're washing the hands good, or too well maybe. So one thing Group 1 didn't do is they didn't sanitise any area. When they came in, they assumed everything was cleaned down. They didn't even back well, you didn't even back mind of the fact that all the food was left out on the counter. And really what this, and this is typical, because when somebody doesn't react to someone else saying, well, this burger could have been here for days, and it was, in fact, it's been in the back of my car for 2 days. But and it smelt a bit funny, but nobody actually wants to put it in the fridge or remove it. So we'll be interested to see what this group do, see if there's anything different. So as I was mentioning to them whilst we were talking, what I noticed in your group, you never did have a leader to tell you what to do. And really, when you're doing food safety culture, you need a leader to look up to in terms of directing, because people left to their own devices will literally just do what they feel and they want.
Where did you get? They're right here.
Now, unfortunately, I'm good to see that they've actually discovered the hairnet. And even gloves, oh wow, even the gloves are coming out.
I didn't even see it.
We started.
So, certainly protective clothing is absolutely critical. Well, it's a good job we've only got 5 ahead, so it's a good job. So, as law dictates, well not law dictates, but certainly direct food hand contact isn't viewed well in the industry. So this is why we wear gloves. Now, the trouble with gloves though is that it's a double-edged sword, in that people don't or be less likely to wash your hands when they've got gloves on. And when you go to fast food joints, you'll notice some people, when they're handling money, for example, will change the gloves. Others will just keep going on regardless. So, in actual fact, gloves can be a cross-contamination point as well. Now, even though they've got the gloves, and even though they've got the hairnets, one of the things they're missing. Which one, sorry? Kind of, yeah. Because the fact is that clothes can actually carry contamination down. So protective clothing protects you from being stained, but also protects it. Now, there's a whole bunch of aprons in the corner, but they haven't noticed at all. But you see, if they're not directed to actually do it, they would not even think about it. Yeah, they're looking for They're looking for someone to actually do it for them in terms of telling them what to do, which is again why leadership is so important.
That's the last thing, put some sanitizer in, throw the water.
Wait, what?
The last thing, plug it, and then put sanitizer in, and then throw the water.
One sanitizer.
I don't know, they're not labeled.
Difference.
Yeah, that's
I
detergent.
think it's, yeah.
Yellow and sanitizer.
So you notice they're going for the running water sort of protocol. Now, especially with utensils, especially soap, them, you need the contact time in order to do that. So
Well, I mean,
even though I've told them, and even though there's a big sign in front of them telling what to do, they just seem to be oblivious to it. So
I need to rest this with the burger on.
Yeah.
You have to fill it, yeah. Well, not like completely, just like a little.
now, just think about what they haven't done though. You've basically you've just finished, and they know they're being used, but they're not. They don't seem to notice or haven't done anything about it. So just think about how clean, how clean the surface is.
I feel like that's very good.
Yeah, very good, isn't it?
Sanitizer.
So you can take the top off if you want. Oh, you've done it. Well done.
Come on.
Getting there.
So she's actually putting washing up liquid in the sanitizer, which isn't a but because in industry, even I've seen window cleaning use the sanitizer before, even though it's obviously not quite right.
Second floor.
Did we clear off the,
No, big one.
like the flat surface? There it is. There's a bowl. The bowl clean, kind of looks gross.
I don't know what they do, where, like, I don't know if it's, are we supposed to have one of those cords with the sanitizer?
You can have, it's not obligatory, not especially in food service, but what you need to have is at least some sanitizer always available in your box. But if you notice here, no notion of using cloth or anything like that.
Yeah, go for it.